don't have it up, but I can try to pull up the meeting through the investors relations. The voting. So, in short, everything approved, everything that was voted on approved. Compensation, board of directors, the additional shares for potential share split. They did not know the date on the share split. They sounds like they were basically saying we don't necessarily have a plan. They still need to analyze it after the approval. I'm sure in the background there's a plan. They just don't want to release that yet. So I'm sure they have an idea of the number of shares that they want to release. Maybe we see some sell the news here now. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But yeah, until we hear more about the share split, I don't think they're going to do any offerings. I don't think that they would do any dilution. There's a difference there, right, guys? Share split is where if you own one, then you get X amount of whatever they want to split it into, and they needed those excess shares to be able to do that. A share offering would be essentially a dilution where they would sell those into the market to raise capital for the company. Given the company has $1 billion in cash, I don't necessarily see them needing to dilute the stock at all. I think that that's pretty common sense. But the share split and dividend was approved, so we should see some more information on that in the future. So, oh, my mic's low. See, you guys made me turn it down. Is this better? Anyone lip read? All right, so this should be better, right? This should be better. Yeah, I turned my mic down for the meeting, but it should be good now. All I was saying, guys, is what was I talking about? Oh, so everything was approved. Everything on the board of directors, or everything on the vote, the board, the share um, increase for the split and dividend was approved. The funds were approved. I think my mic's good now. All I was saying is dilution doesn't make sense, and there's a difference between dilution and a share split. Right? A share split is where if you have one stock, then you get X amount of stocks when they decide to do the split. So they need to increase the shares to do that split and get that going. Still can't hear anything. Test. I don't know. Everything looks good on my end. But yeah, essentially, dilution doesn't make sense. They have $1 billion on hand. The only time that they would dilute is to capital raise, and there's no real reason that they would need to raise capital right now. So that's kind of where we're at. Everything was approved. Um, that is going to conclude what I have. If you are thankful for this, I appreciate you tuning in. I just did it to share with the community. I know how it can be feeling like you're on the outside or whatever on being able to see these things. So yeah, that's why I streamed it. This channel isn't really anything that I'm trying to build out too crazy, but I live stream. I just decided to, and then I trade. So if you ever want to stop in and watch, then feel free. How does the split screw the shorts? So a split doesn't necessarily screw the shorts. They're talking about a split and dividend. So in that case, the shorts are essentially the people that pay the dividend. So that would incentivize them to cover or close their short position. From my understanding, I am not a market expert. I don't claim to understand the plumbing of the market, but my understanding is that inside of a stock split, let's say you own 100 shares and they do a 5-to-1 split. You then own 500 shares and you're paid a dividend on those 500 shares. Who pays those dividends is essentially the people that have shorted the stock. The meeting's over, Victor. If this sounds too high, Fahad, then just turn down your volume. Everything looks good on my end. All right, so we're done. If you're curious, my trades on the day were AMD, SPY. That is all I have, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Nick says, I have an SEC document stating large share dividends are treated as standard split, meaning shorts wouldn't need to cover. I can link if allowed. Yeah, sure, Nick, share it. Like I said, I'm not an expert on market plumbing. I'm sure there's information on both sides. So some people are going to interpret it as the shorts. Yeah, they don't need to cover. Shorts never need to cover. They can carry the position. Just how longs never need to sell, right? Like, I mean, there's somebody on each side of the end of the trade. There's longs, there's shorts. Neither one needs to do anything. It's not like they can be made to cover. Well, I mean, a margin call. But I think margin calls are also different than what people think they are. It's not like you just get called and they're like, hey, you're getting margin called. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. Margin calls are internal. I think they go through the risk management process internally through the company. Granted, the broker, the big banks, can margin call them. But I also think that there's risk management inside of those companies that decide on whether or not to recall that margin as well. Inside the big bank brokers. Yeah, the shareholder poll is an all pass. So they voted on, 6 items, and everything was approved. So you kind of saw a buy into it, and now you're seeing a little bit of a sell-off. But it's still up on the day, still up 4.3% on the day. We played the AMD 104 calls today. Off of this bounce upside, we sold right here, and then we still continued up, so those would have paid pretty well too. Well, they did pay okay, but had I held, it would have paid a little more. All right, guys, any other questions? Denny, what was the big news? No real big news. Everything was kind of expected. Section 444 of this article. Denny, everything was expected. It was just a shareholder meeting over the votes for the board, compensation for the board, potential stock split, and the increase of available shares to 1 billion. All of that got voted to pass. I saw some people mentioning dilution in the chat. It's not dilution. The 1 billion shares isn't for dilution. It's potentially for a stock split. At least that's the board's intentions. Can they use them for dilution in the future? Sure. Are we going to see it? Is that in the shareholders' best interest? Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. But that's all we have, guys. So, you're welcome. Glad I could help. I'll see you guys later.